Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whatever time it is, wherever you're watching. It's Bridging the Gap. I'm your host, Council Glenn.
Hey, William V. Thompson talking to you.
How you doing today, man?
But I'm well. Hope you are.
Doing good. How does it feel to not have Carolina playing this late in the tournament?
Let's talk about the weather. Let's talk about the stock market. Let's talk about real estate. But I tell you though, just keep this in mind that you're right. Last year was terrible. This year's terrible. But everybody's coming back except one person. We will be in the Final Four next year. Keep that in
Uh-oh.
mind.
Uh-oh.
Right, write it down. Wherever you write stuff down, Carolina will be in the Final Four. Everybody's coming back except one guy, and he may come back. Garson Brook. He's a senior, but the bottom line is things will be better in Tar Heel land next year.
Okay. Okay. I wish I could say I had the same optimism about Duke, but I'm not sure,
Well, I'm
man.
glad you brought it up. But anyway, I won't even go there.
All right, man. So we less than 13, man. We're 13 weeks in. How you feeling?
Hey, I'm feeling really good, man. We're getting a lot of good response from people, and I think lives are being changed. Even like last week in podcast 12, we talked about the cash flow system.
Mm-hmm.
And as a retired CPA, I emphasize the power of cash flow
Right.
as well as month end closing. And we really talked about the importance of treating your personal finances like a highly successful business. And we got, some pretty decent responses from that. And I think when people get into that mindset, it's a business, it's an enterprise, whether they're making 10,000 or 10 million, it's the same mindset. So today we're going to go a step further. We're going to piggyback on our podcast name, talking about bridging the gap.
Got it. Got it.
Because it's easy to tell people to do a cash flow system, but then when they finally do it, they're excited, they're innovative, and then when they get done with it, they have cash flow, but it's negative, meaning that more is going out than coming in. So we're going to talk about what to do with that because every problem does what?
Has multiple
Okay,
solutions.
no, okay, he's doing pretty good now. But here's the quiz before we move on.
Okay. All right.
When you learn to solve your problems, what happened?
You create
Money, you got
money.
it. But when you learn to solve the problems of others, what happens?
You create wealth.
And we're going to show people today how to create money by solving their problems and what they do for themselves, they're ultimately going to do for others, whether it be in real estate, stock market, or business. So today's podcast 13, is going to be critical.
Got it. You've sat down with probably thousands of people, couples, individuals.
Yeah.
How often do you see a negative cash flow?
I'm going to say easily 90% of the time. And on an average council, it's about $500 in the hole. For example, the average person may be bringing in, let's call it 4,000, but they're spending out 45 and they didn't have a clue. And they're wondering why they're always late in paying bills or they're financially frustrated. But once they do see their negative cash flow, podcast 13 is going to give them the solution. So it's that critical and it's that important.
Got it. Got it. Let's hop right in.
All right. When we talk about bridging the gap, the first statement I want to make is this: negative cash flow creates a negative future. You know, everybody, I want to say it again: negative cash flow creates a negative future. Everybody has cash flow. I don't care whether you make a 10,000 a month or 1,000 a month, but most people have negative cash flow, which simply means more is going out than coming in. And if that's the case, we talked in one of our earlier podcasts that it's your cash flow that's your seed to create your future.
Mm-hmm.
And if I have a negative $500 a month, well, guess what? I don't have anything to invest in the stock market.
Right.
I don't have anything monetarily to build a business. I don't have anything to eradicate debt. But we're going to show people today, which I think are one of the most important podcasts, how to bridge the gap between negative cash flow and going to positive cash flow without having a part-time job.
Got it. And I guess you can say the opposite is true as well. Positive cash flow creates a positive
Oh,
future.
no doubt about it. When you understand the things that we're teaching and training, like for example, let's assume today that someone is coming to us. Doesn't matter whether it's a single parent, doesn't matter whether they're married, kids or no kids. The numbers are the numbers,
Mm-hmm.
okay? And let's assume that their inflows of $4,500. That inflows, as we've talked about before, could be from a job.
Mm-hmm.
It could be from doing some real estate deals. It could be from a business, stock market. It doesn't matter. 4,500 is coming in. But the problem is they did what we said in podcast 12. They finally determined, here comes a quiz, they finally determined their financial number. What in the world is a financial number?
The amount you need to live an enjoyable and comfortable life.
All right, all right, not bad. Mhm. The youngster's getting it, I think, guys. He's getting it. You're right. So this person, a couple, finally sat down after 7 years of marriage,
Mhm.
15 years of marriage, whatever it might be, and they finally determined that when they look at all their debts and all their living expenses and what we call life, they've determined that they need $5,200. That is the number. But then they look at that in light of what they're bringing home, 4,500,
Mhm.
and all the excitement that they had that we're going to get this thing right now. We're plugged into bridging the gap. We're going to change our lives. We're going to do real estate. Reality sets in, and they now see that we are $700 a month short, and that's assuming nothing bad goes wrong.
Right.
So now they're frustrated, they're discouraged, they have a sense of hopelessness.
Got it. Got it. Okay.
But as you said before, every problem what?
Has multiple solutions.
So what do we do now, Council? We begin to look at ways to create money.
Right.
We have to make sure that we control and keep everything at 52. We can't let it get worse. But today I want to share about 4 or 5 things that I would do ASAP to go from negative cash flow of 700 to maybe positive cash flow of 500. I'm going to say in 6 months or less, depends on how bad you want it.
Got it.
Again, without having a part-time job. So you ready for the journey?
Yeah. What's the first one?
Okay. First thing I would say do is look at your debt.
Okay.
Of that 5,200, based on my experience, the average person probably has at least $2,000 a month in debt.
Okay.
And debt as we define is anything with an outstanding balance that's going to be paid off. It could be the mortgage, the car, the student loan, the credit cards, taxes, etc. So the first thing is look at that $2,000 a month of your debt. And the goal is as quick as possible to attack one at a time. The goal is to free up $300 a month. And people have to understand that if you have $2,000 a month in debt, that's one of the best sources of cash flow. We're just trying to get 15% of it or $300 within the next 90 days or so. So I'm at 7. My first goal is 300 with debt reduction.
Got it. Got it. And that's not a hard thing to do.
It's not a hard thing to do when you have a reason to do it.
Right.
See, you have a reason to build your real estate enterprise. You have a reason to learn stock market. You have a reason for it. And without, in other words, we'll always say, what is it that you want so badly? My wife says badly. I say bad. What do you want so bad in life that you refuse to live without it?
Yeah.
And when you get that mentality, you're right. Elimination of debt becomes easier.
Yeah. Especially at the time of this recording with all the stimulus checks and things that are coming out. There's a lot of things you could do to help reduce debt.
Oh, you can. I just did a lady's tax this morning.
Oh, yeah.
She's a single parent.
Too.
She's getting back $11,500. Now she only makes $26,000, mind you. She makes 20, and when you net that, she probably makes about 24 net or 2,000 a month. She's getting about $12,000. Now, again, her current mindset concerns me.
Mm.
But with $12,000 that you were not expecting in your hand, and all her student loans got paid off because her last couple of years went to pay. If she were to embrace what we're teaching,
wow,
that $12,000 could really be the seed that her and her kids look back and go, this day, our life changed.
Yeah.
But I'm afraid she will not.
Wow. 12,000.
That's it.
Man. Okay. So we got the the debt reduction, 300 average couple, average person, about 2,000 in debt, reduce debt by 3. So what's the second step?
Second thing is I will look at expenses.
Okay.
We talked about expense review. We talked about you can eliminate it, you can reduce it. And those are the 2 things.
Right.
Look at, because you know your financial number of 5,200. Probably in that is about another 2,500 of expenses. Things like your gasoline and your life insurance and your eating out and your clothing. All we're saying is find $100 to $200. And it's all about doing this for your future. Because remember, I'm 7 in the hole. I've gotten 3 from debt. if I can get one or maybe two, depending on how bad I want it,
Mm-hmm.
then instead of being 700 in the hole, I'm seven, then minus three. Then on the conservative side, 100 from expenses. So I'm more than halfway there with two simple and basic ideas.
And if things are really tight, this is the easiest one for me.
Yeah.
The expenses, like for instance, we have Verizon. We pay about 250 a month
Gotcha.
for all our lines and everything. We recently got Spectrum when we just moved, and Spectrum has wireless service now,
Okay.
which is on Verizon's network. So I can literally move all of the lines I have on Verizon to Spectrum, still have Verizon service. It's
Gotcha.
just ran by Spectrum, and it's only $110 a month,
So that's the savings of what?
140.
Yeah. And see, and that's what successful businesses do. Sure, they love to increase their sales and revenue, but they also love to cut out the waste. And we're going to start talking about that more in episode 14 through about 20 about cutting TED.
Mm-hmm.
But this is a small example of TED being the expenses. It's low hanging fruit. This is one of the things you can probably get in the first week.
Yeah, and this is one of the ones where I recommend, man. I know we have, group chats and things where
Yeah.
see what people are paying for
I love it.
insurance in your group chat.
Love it.
See what they're paying for life insurance. See what they're paying for car insurance. See who has the best rates on things. I mean, we talk about some of everything else. Let's talk about ways to save some money in some of these. Not necessarily starting a business or growing an empire, but if somebody can give you a key to save $100 a month on something, and you don't lack in service, I'm with it all day.
Me too, man. Great idea.
Yeah.
Great idea.
Yeah, I like the expense review.
Yeah. And the third one's one of my favorite ones. I'm an entrepreneur. You love real estate. You're driven by it. I love business ownership, and I'm always saying to people, find what makes you come alive.
Mm-hmm.
Find what you're good at. You have a passion for, and let your goal be to at least create within the next 30 days $300 a month. I mean, think about it. Most people have a job, so you may not like your job, but that job maybe be as a school teacher or teacher. You could just start tutoring for 300.
Yep.
I was talking to a client last night, and he has a friend who actually goes around to thrift shops and Goodwill, etc. And he finds, let's say, he finds maybe furniture. He may find clothing that's nice, but just a little tarnished.
Mm-hmm.
He bought a pair of shoes one time. They told me for $25 and sold it for 300.
Mm.
So my point is, even if somebody loves bargain hunting, they
Yep.
love shopping,
Yep.
they could easily, I mean, that's just offline, not to mention doing it online.
Yeah.
So the point is a business idea that you're going to treat not like a hobby, but a business with a game plan. Your goal in the next 30 days has to be $300 a month. It can be online, offline, or a combination, but just do it.
Agreed. I met with a guy yesterday who wants to get into real estate, and he's actually a poet. And he had an interview with someone, and he noticed that they didn't have any representation of African Americans within the people who write articles.
I got you.
So he asked if he could write an article for them. Submitted it. They asked him how much. $250. He had the article written already because he writes every day. And so now they asking him when can he do another. So he picked up a easy 250 or more a month just by submitting stuff he's already written to someone who needed it.
I love it. And though a person may start doing things they don't like,
Right.
often like this poet, imagine getting paid to do something that you love doing.
Or you're already doing.
Saying it. Yeah, it's out there.
Yeah.
It's out there.
Agreed 100%. Yeah, I like that one too. So we got how many more?
Got two more.
Okay.
Two more. Okay. So we talked about debt was 300.
Right.
We talked about expenses 100.
Mm-hmm.
Business idea. If you do the math, that's 600 right there.
Right.
I'm sorry, that's 700. That's 700 there. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
And then your tax strategies.
Okay.
Most people, it's tax season now. Most people don't sit down and ask their tax professional, what can I do to reduce my taxes? What can I do to get my regular tax refund in my paycheck now? And here's the big question. I noticed tax preparer that I'm having 10,000 withheld. I'm getting a $3,000 refund back. I'm excited about that, but the IRS is keeping, you're letting them keep the other 7. What can I do to get more of my refund back? So the average person, if they were to sit down and just learn the basics of taxes, stretch their tax person, they could probably get another $300 a month back in their paycheck. And at the end of the year, not owe the IRS a dollar. So now with doing that fourth one, you now have gone from $700 a month negative cash flow
Right.
to 300, and we have one more low-hanging fruit for them.
Got it. Now, just a question. So, like, taking the example, the lady that's getting 11.5 back.
Yeah, yeah.
If some people would say that that's her not changing that if she's not struggling month to month, assuming she's not. It's almost like a built-in savings.
It is.
What disadvantage would she have by not changing that?
I think the disadvantage to the standpoint that's a whole 12 months that she did not have access to that money.
Got it.
Because a lot of her money, though, was the rebate and the child care credit, et cetera. She didn't have a lot of withholdings to do. But to answer the question, you all remember cash flow is the rocket fuel.
Right.
So I'd much rather have my $500 a month now than in 12 months when you understand money. So the biggest disadvantage is she's not maximizing the present value of money, like getting it right now.
Again, another thing too, if she had that money and the discipline to save it, she could put it in an interest-bearing account, even if it's just a savings account. I mean, she can draw interest on it as opposed to giving it to the government tax.
And I'm glad you said that. And see, this brings us to our last point, stock trading.
Got it.
And note the word trading and not investing. And it ties into something I just did. In stock trading, we believe in long-term investing.
Okay.
Note the word investing. But when you need and desire cash flow, we like to find things that you can do that create monthly cash flow. And one of those we briefly talked about, episode 8 or 9, was in selling puts. And let me show you what I just did. I like Apple. I know you love Apple, so we don't need to go a long commentary there. All right. So Apple was selling for $122 a share. Okay. And it's been pretty much around that for a while. I actually sold someone the right. I sold a put. I sold someone the right to make me buy Apple at 115. And remember, it's at 122.
Right.
I sold someone the right to make me buy it at 115. They paid me $340 for the right to make me buy Apple at a price I wanted to, and I gave them 37 days to do it.
Oh, wow.
So my point being is that's one way that I create, and we teach others to create monthly cash flow. But if this young lady understood that she could take that 11.5, put into a brokerage account, with training, she could have done the very same thing with her 11.5, and she would have made $340 this month, and possibly could have done it again with Apple next month and next month. And the next thing you know, the potential, Council, is that 11.5 could have made her about $300 a month the next 12 months.
Got it.
But the thing she has lacked the knowledge and the discipline to do it.
Got it. On that note, and this is a question I had personally. With the monthly cash flow, that does that stay in your brokerage account? That the $340, or is that going in your whatever account you designated?
Whatever account you designate, it will ultimately go into your matter of fact, the minute you sell it, the money hits your account immediately. And I could immediately say, it's in my brokerage account, transfer to my checking account, and tomorrow morning at 9 o'clock, you could start spending and or investing or doing whatever. So it's immediate cash flow.
Yeah, that was my question. I didn't know if it stayed in the brokerage account. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Any tax ramifications for
it? Will. Excuse me. If you do it in a regular account, the answer is yes.
Okay.
If I did it in a Roth account, the answer is no, because with a Roth account, under certain conditions, it can grow legally tax-free. So it just depends on your planning and your desires.
Got it. Okay. I like that. So we went from a $700 negative cash flow to 3, 4, 7, 8, 9, 10. And then if we do the stock, that's what? $500 positive cash flow.
You got it. So we created $1,200 a month in 6 months or less. And we bridged the gap. And the driving factor behind this is not just the knowledge, it's the passion to change your future.
Agreed. Agreed. Those first four are really easy. I can understand,
Yeah.
somebody may not understand the stock and it may take time.
Understand.
But the first four, the debt reduction, the expense review, the business identity, tax strategies, everyone can do those, it seems.
So no doubt about it.
Yeah.
No doubt about it. Just it goes back to how bad do you want it.
Agreed.
That's simple.
Agreed. Well, that wraps up 13. Is that true?
That's true, my friend. And we're going to get ready for podcast 14 next week this time.
That's
okay?
cutting Ted, right?
Cutting Ted. And we're going to start talking about some tax strategies
Okay.
without having a business. See, it's easy to talk about tax strategies with the business,
Mhm.
and we'll do that. But we're going to talk about how the average person can start saving taxes without having a business. And we're going to start next week.
Got it. Well, that wraps up episode 13. Council Glenn.
Hey, William V. Thompson.
See you guys next time.
Sounds like a plan.